right, so we are officially meeting. Sorry, I think can you take me off? Are you taking me off mute? I'm able to mute myself. There we go. I got it. All right. Good afternoon. This is the Human Relations Commission meeting on Wednesday, October 9th. The time is 6:18, and we are officially convening our meeting. As we do with every meeting, we want to first do roll call. So I will turn it over to our colleague to assess. Commissioner Bryan, here. Commissioner Blavitt, Commissioner Jamil, Commissioner Lewis, Commissioner Marshall, Commissioner Thornton, and Commissioner Myron. All right, thank you all for being present. Today's agenda is quite robust. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Mr. Chairman, Jason Blavitt, to officially call us to order and proceed with the agenda.
Thank you very much. Again, welcome everyone here this evening. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules and a nice fall evening to get together and do the important work of the County Human Relations Commission. I just want to take a slight moment of privilege. Looking forward to we have 2 more meetings this year, but this will be our last meeting, as the executive director said, in person. It will also be my last meeting as chair of the commission. My term will be ending in the calendar year. So it's been a very eventful and rewarding 24 years. Yeah, my wife is willing to stay on longer, but the commission is not. So it has been thanks to those that have been involved, that are new to the commission, and those that have been involved for many years. I can be very proud of the work that we've done, the direction we've gone, and the way we've pivoted and adjusted to certainly Baltimore County is a different place today than it was 2 decades ago. Again, it's been an honor to serve as commissioner and chair for many years, and I'm just hopeful that as we go forward, the work of Baltimore County and throughout the state continues to get done, and the commission remains here. Some counties decided that there's not a need for it. Personally, I wish there was no need for us at all. To become obsolete would be a wonderful meeting, and unfortunately, that's not like something that's going to happen in the near future. Thank you for all of you, and for our passion for problems. As far as that's really another report to share, and so not any commissioners having to share from their districts, some experiences, good, bad, different. There's something that the commission should be aware of. Being that able to
start with it. I second the sentiments that the chairman has made. I think this is also my last effort with all of you, and I want to thank everyone who has participated during my last 10 years, and that it has been a privilege and an honor. There's a lot that I learned, and I know that the community, my community, that we present, we also have learned a lot. As to what we do, what does the role that the relationship community members play, and how it can benefit them. The latest was that I'm also a member of the FBI Citizen Academy of Alumni Association. So there's a new special agent in charge for the FBI office in Baltimore. We had invited a few months ago, meet and greet him. And during that meeting, we could discuss 8 crimes. They have expanded their division within this field office for the investigation and intelligence gathering for any possible or expected future hate. we did raise some alarms to ask members like to keep our eyes open and ears open because it's a very delicate time, especially after we enter the time of elections. So that was enlightening, and it was encouraging that the FBI is prepared and ready. Also, that they have expanded this division of theirs, and there are many subdivisions within the hatred is not just it's not just the anti-Semitic and Islamophobia, but also the racial crimes. They're on the increase. So that is what I wanted to report. And it is Mr. William Delgado, I forgot the name, from New York, who is the special envoy. His motivation to join FBI was 9/11, and that's when we joined. We have no especially from
Thank you for sharing. Any other? Any other emails going on? Welcome.
Hi, I'm sorry. Hi. Did I come in at a good time?
You're always on time. Perfect time.
Okay.
So again, I appreciate also when everyone has topics, so the thought, sharing with staff, so that they can then disseminate it out to other commissioners and also to the local county at large. So with that, I'll turn it over to Speaker Brown for your report.
Thank you. Before we go any further, I appreciate the years of service from the both of you. You both have been so instrumental in my transition to this role and so instrumental in charting out the path forward for the commission. So I hope that you are transitioning proud. Again, it's one of those, sorry that we even have to exist, but certainly we do exist. There is a need, and I hope that you'll be doing a very high noted job well done. At least we definitely are from where I sit, but I hope that you also feel the same. So thank you. And there may be also an opportunity for you to come back and work with us in a couple of capacities, but we're talking about that. Okay, so as I mentioned, and as our chairman reiterated, we do have quite a robust agenda today. But before we jump in, we just wanted to provide you some information on a couple of upcoming events. The first is one that is on October 21st. It's the annual Community Health and Resources event at Turner Station from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then on Thursday, November 14th, is the Immigrant Outreach Workshop. And we'll send an updated version that includes the time and how to potentially sign up for these events. But we wanted you to at least be aware so that you can quote unquote stay up to date.
what is this? What is the chapter going to be? How would you feel?
I think this is the one that Commissioner Lewis said. So Commissioner Lewis, do you want to talk a little bit about the Immigrant Outreach Workshop that you said?
Yes, I sent it, I registered for it, but doesn't start until November the 9th. It was put out by the Department of Planning, and I signed up for it, but it isn't until the 9th. And I can probably, I'll send you the email, you want to send it to you.
We'll send it around here, upcoming.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. So I got it from Department of Planning.
Thank you. You have one of Eastern European Belarusians and Ukrainians in your district, right?
In my district, well, of course, right, it's a large Jewish population.
Yes.
And we're also, the next largest segment are the Hispanics from different areas because I learned because of their food. It's like, no, this is not Mexican food, this is Peruvian food, and that kind of thing. It's Hispanics. And then we are starting to get Muslim population because the Milford Mill, what was traditionally the Milford Mill Swim Club, everybody can know where they're in Pikesville by knowing where the Milford Mill Swim Club is. Well, that was purchased about 5 years ago. There's this center now. So we're getting a lot more Muslims, and it was very encouraging because in August on National Night Out, the ones in our community, they're actually attending the events. So it's really, it's becoming very, very more diverse. Because I guess we're past the commissioner's report time, right?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, because I sent your email about cigar lounge. On Brycestown Road, there's a cigar lounge, and it used to be called Sephora. And for some reason, they changed their name to ISIS. And some of the Jewish constituents sent me an email because because I think the email said it was in bad taste at minimum. That's a person put an email. But when I talked to the person, they were really very upset. Because, I mean, if they've had this name before, and as a matter of fact, it was further down Ricerstown Road in the city. They moved out here maybe about 9 months ago, and they've been using that name. And then they changed it to ISIS. Now there's an acronym for something else, but they just thought it was in bad taste, given the way things are going, given the increase in the number of anti-Semitic issues going on. And I remember I sent the email because I was wondering, and I talked to someone in economic development, I'm like, are there a list of names you can't use? I know for vanity tags, there are lists of names that you can't use. So I was like, okay, is there a list of names they can't use? Not as, Ms. Peoples, and, I don't know what they did, or I can't remember getting back to me. But right, but if it's not, I think at this point, maybe as the commissioners who are charged with reviewing policies and processes to make suggestions to make things better, maybe that's something we can suggest if the county does not have a list of names, just like the state says your vanity tags, there are a list of names you can't use. If they don't have that, maybe that's something that we can say, hey, let's make that list up. And doesn't just have to be related to like that conflict that's going on in the Mideast. I mean, for example, someone says, I want to name on KKK, Ku Klux Klan. I mean, of course, that's going to be very offensive. So, if there is no policy, maybe as a commission, we can say, hey, let's have that policy,
Great point, great point.
I'm really enjoying you, meeting with the owners, and then let's start from there.
Well, I don't think at this point you have to join us to meet with the owners. I think if the county is willing to say, we can't make you, because if we don't have a policy, you can't make them. But the county is willing to say, we can't make you, but we suggest and recommend. In order for, to make sure there's unity in the community. And also there are other people who might go there, but for that name. So, I mean, we could probably have that kind of discussion, but we need to have some basis on which to have the discussion. That's why I was finding out, exactly where we stand on that position. Yeah. I mean, because there were other things that's been going on in our community too. There's a motel, DoubleTree, is at the intersection of soon as you come off the Beltway. It's right there when you come on Ricerstown Road. Near the hill. And August, because we reported on in September, there was a meeting. Only thing I know was a meeting. And they were Iranian officials. And there was a protest there. And the protest got to the point where the police had to make some arrests. And once the police made their arrest, the protesters went down to the precinct where the police were holding the protesters, and they protested there. Now, this was very interesting because this never made the news. But this did happen, and it was reported in our PCRC meeting. And, the police didn't want it. They didn't make a big issue out of it. And that's why how it was reported, because they didn't want to become, inflammatory and that kind of thing. But those kind of things happen. And that's very interesting because it did happen. They did report it like that, because they reported it at PCRC. I wanted to see that, did that come through in this report?
Mhm.
Because you're saying the police reporting everything, but did that come through in this report? And I don't know, but.
I don't know, because this is my first time hearing about that.
Right,
so.
that's right, because like I said, it didn't, I'm like, something like that would have made the news, didn't make the news, but the PCRC meeting.
When was
the
this?
police captain, it happened in August.
In August.
Yeah, at the Police Community Relations Commission meeting, they reported on it, at that meeting that it happened, because they report on everything that happens, and they did report it happened, and that's what they reported. And like I said, it never made the news, and something like that would have made the news. But like I said, they didn't want to get inflammatory, but even though they might not report it, do they come through in this report?
Were there any arrests or anything?
Oh, yeah, there were arrests, because after they arrested, I think they arrested 2 of the protesters. Now, I don't know who the protesters were, but I'm assuming if it was the meeting was with Iranian businessmen, I'm thinking the protesters were probably Jewish or Jewish sympathizers, something like that. And when they arrested the 2 protesters and took them down to the precinct, the protesters went down and marched at the precinct. Now, that would have been reported, because they then went to the precinct and marched at the precinct.
So that's interesting. So I don't think something like that would show up on here, because this is a hate crime, hate bias report. But so good news, the police department now has a DEI person. They've had one previously, and the position has been vacant for a while. Sometimes you have to kind of weather the storm to find the right person. And Mark Bell, who is phenomenal, he has decades of experience working in this arena. So I say all that to say I'm going to follow up with him to see if there's a way for us to perhaps be informed when there's incidents in the community that has a racial discriminatory tone that maybe doesn't fit the hate bias category, that fits maybe one of the other buckets, to see how we can be engaged to support whatever the community concern is.
And not even if it fits in the category, just, okay, can you put the others? That we can see this, so that even something like that, it doesn't go its own category, but you see that might be some kind of tension there, that was like, okay, let's look at the policies and procedures. And again, when we talk about that, it's like, how the police, I mean, that's their job. They were just doing their job. But they might not be so much aware of that kind of aspect to say, okay, when we see that kind of thing, just, give a heads up and let us know. That way we can be on alert and think about policies or processes that you might say, hey, let's change this a little bit, going forward.
Absolutely.
Was in charge. We designed quite a few months ago. Where this commission is vacant for so long. If he's serious about having a supervision, oversight, we need that commission to be good.
Right. You also have to make sure you have people applying. I think that was some of the challenge as well. And just making sure you got the right person on the team. So we now check that box. So thank you for your Okay. Thank you. Great feedback. I do want to move us steadily along. We're quickly approaching the 7 o'clock hour. I know some people have hard stops. The first, which is in your folders, are the various documents that we've been working the past year, truth be told, the past year on, particularly the roles and responsibilities and the commitment statement. I will ask, and those are located on the right-hand side. Ask if you could please take out the commitment statement, review it. It includes all of the various iterations and updates that we discussed. Let's sign it. And at the end of the meeting, we will pass it around to have the chair, Mr. Chairman, and myself sign, and then that way we'll be able to move forward.
Is this the one you sent an email before?
Yes.
Did I send mine in?
If you already sent it, I think you were the only one. Oh, yes, thank you for that reminder. Yes, you already provided it to us. So everyone except for
Unless you want to sign it.
I'm like, I'm still trying to get my signatures on.
we also have the roles and responsibilities. There's no signature required on it, but this is just the final version for you to have for your record. And then the third is that we updated the bylaws. Now I noticed that on my copy it's a little faded. Not to worry, we'll make certain to send over an electronic version and have hard copies at our next in-person meeting. Some of the toners probably getting a little low, but nonetheless, these are the updated bylaws. We work closely with our office of law as well as with Chairman Glavin on the various edits. Okay. And so while you're doing that, I just want to speak briefly. One of the things that we had hoped to do was to talk about the action steps for the various strategies and goals tied to our strategic plan. We only received feedback on the action steps from one commissioner. So we're going to give everyone an extension to our next meeting, our November meeting. And we'll send out a reminder also with the updated instructions on how you can provide that feedback so that we can move forward. Okay. So just moving along, just as a follow-up or continuation to the conversation we just having, we've been tracking the trends in hate bias incidents and crimes since 2022. So you can see on the screen just the influx in Baltimore County. There's a couple of periods where there weren't any reports. Now, we all know we continue to have the conversation that we recognize the caveat that it doesn't mean that hate bias incidents didn't happen during these periods. It's just a matter of there weren't any reported to the police department at that time. So we as we think about the action steps tied to the various goals and strategies, we should consider the trend that we see before us. What you have in your folders, you can see much better than you can see it on the screen, is a one-pager that outlines, particularly for 2024, what the specific hate crime offenses and the frequency. You'll see that in April, we had one anti-Islamic Muslim, anti-Jewish. There were three cases of anti-Black or African American. There were three instances of that, and so forth. In June, anti-LGBTQ, mixed group. Those are two. And when we look at the specific data in prior years, the anti-LGBTQ, you will also see that trend in June and other years. We know that that's Pride Month, so it's one of those unfortunate things that we can anticipate. So that's again, thinking about the various action items tied to the strategies and goals. That's another area that we might want to pay specific focus.
Yeah, I've always had a problem with this reporting because I've always thought that it was underreported based on just what I hear. And because one of the things I did talk about, and I've been talking about for a long time, I've been asking for some materials because I think the issue is that people don't know what to do with what's happening to them. They know it doesn't quite fall under EEO. So they're like, okay, EEO doesn't, so they don't know what to do with it because I know it's happening because people reported it's happening. And I was hoping that we could have some materials. There were some brochures. There was some type of talking points presented. that we as commissioners
Mhm.
could then start, getting this information out to the community.
So we definitely have brochures. We just inadvertently forgot to put them in here, so we'll make sure we get them to you all before the end of the meeting. If you don't mind, keep Brad.
And if we did have a talking, a talking points, and then possibly a presentation that, so we would know when we make a presentation that we're saying the right things, we're covering the right things, what not to say, and all that type of thing. Because I attend a lot of community meetings, and there's a lot of opportunities to say, okay, I will come as a speaker, and this is what I'm going to talk about.
So
And I suspect a lot of people are like, I never even realized that the county had this.
So what I'm hearing is that training, just
Yes.
training. So something separate and apart from these convenings, but just actual training provided to the commissioners so that you all can truly be true representation or an extension, I should say, of the work that we do here in the office.
Right, because like I said, I'm Joan knows, because, I see you quite a few meetings. I mean, there's a ton of meetings. And like I said, to say, okay, can I have 15 minutes to make this presentation? And quite a few of the meetings I attend are meetings of the group leaders, of group presidents, because sometimes when I've gone and made the presentation, they said, okay, can you come talk to my community association, whatever. And I think there's an opportunity for us to get the word out, disseminating that way, that we're really missing a big opportunity.
Sure.
You do have that.
Yeah, that's what you're trying to
And
grab.
they were gonna be advised.
Maybe you had that case, the thing with Spanish and-
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that feedback. One of the, I know we got to move along, but one of the goals is community outreach and advocacy. So what you were just talking about fits right here in this category in terms of action items. I think the training that you just described, that we'll go back and huddle to talk about the timing, what content is the most viable for you all to be in the So, thank you, and thank you for, I know you also sent over feedback.
I'm sorry,
No, please don't
I'm a-
apologize for being you.
I'm a student at heart. The teacher gives you an assignment.
We appreciate it. Okay, so closed cases. So we talked a lot about the closed case process. This is a mellow introduction to providing commissioners familiarity with the business process in terms of investigation. So we figured it was best to kind of go backwards, if you will, as opposed to going forward, because of the intricacies and the training that are necessary in terms of the investigation. So what you have, what I'm first going to do is provide you an overview of the business process, and you will receive electronic copies of the various cases. But we did today, since the quote unquote soft kickoff for closed cases, and this will be your first time, is we printed off hard. So that's what you have in the ground. Before you jump there, I'll first, as I mentioned, provide you a general overview. So the first thing I wanted to do is provide you with a few stats. So between January and July, we received a total of 8 cases. This really states the date since January 2024. We've only received, let me rephrase. We only had 8 cases. That doesn't mean that we only had 8 claims. We do a series of questions and decision points in order to determine whether or not something evolves or advances to an actual case. So we received, we'll provide updated information on how many complaints we received to date. But as far as the number of actual cases that have been investigated, there's only been 60% of those are cases related to sexual harassment in the workforce, and then 40% of the cases are tied to race discrimination in education. I can pause here. I also want to pause here. We have One of our colleagues who joined us here today, David Skinner, who serves as our Fair Housing Officer in the Department of Housing and Community Development. We work very, very closely together, particularly on the housing piece. David, did you want to just take a few moments just to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about how we work together and what you do?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So as you said, my name is David Skinner, and I'm Fair Housing Compliance Manager at DHCD. I've been here since 2016. And when I started in this position, I wasn't doing anything, closely related to the work I'm doing now. I would say over the past couple of years, as I guess, kind of gained my sea legs and been working more with stakeholders, external partners, people like the Baltimore Metropolitan Council and the regional jurisdictional partnership that exists between Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Anne Arundel County, Howard County, and Harford County, to basically look at the jurisdiction's obligations as it pertains to affirmatively furthering fair housing. In our case here in Baltimore County, I don't know if you know, but we've been under, since 2016, a voluntary conciliation agreement where entities as complainants to that VCA, which is basically born out of a lawsuit from the Baltimore County NAACP, the Public Justice Center, the AFL-CIO, and Disability Rights Maryland, and then 3 individuals who are actually on Baltimore County Office of Housing's voucher program. So basically, it was settled out of court, and then also as part of that settlement, in addition to paying money to these organizations and finding housing for the individuals on the voucher program, the county also has to create 1,000 units of what they call affordable housing, and then they're really trying to rebrand it as attainable housing to get rid of the negative connotation that affordable housing has from the opponents to affordable housing. Excuse me. So attainable, yes. So we have until 2026 to create or really get approved by the county council 1,000 units of these affordable hard units of housing. Right now, we have about 700, we are at 764 precisely that have been approved. Of that 764 that have been approved, there's only about 450 or so that are actually constructed and being leased. So we're kind of behind the gun. We're behind the gun on our interim goals for the year. But it's kind of tightening the nuts and bolts on that. But in addition to kind of managing occupancy, demographic reporting in those development projects, I've also handled complaints that come into the county from individuals who say people feel that they have been discriminated against in the process of trying to rent a house, trying to buy a house, or trying to take a mortgage loan, but then also from not just those discrimination complaints, but regular complaints that tenants and their rental property owners, may find themselves in, whether it's maintenance that is sufficient or eviction proceedings that aren't done properly. So I get a lot of those calls, and I try to either handle and investigate some of those myself or farm them out to the county's vendor. Right now we have 2. We have Economic Action Maryland, that used to be Baltimore Neighborhoods Incorporated. Right. You have heard of them. So they adapted back in 2018. And then reformatted themselves with a different name, and that name has gone by the wayside. Now it's under the Economic Action Maryland, which came out of Maryland. I can't remember. It's so many different yes, but then so they were the only kind of player in town. And then another organization that we reached out to years ago when we first put out the RFA for that contract, Equal Rights from out of the PG County, DC area. They've stepped up to do just the testing while Economic Action Maryland does the outreach piece. They do complaints and referrals. They connect constituents to attorneys if they need them in that process of trying to fight that discrimination claim. And what we're finding now is that the majority of the cases or complaints that come in are disability related. That's pretty much the number one. Right? I would say that out of the majority of those, it's around reasonable accommodation.
Mhm.
Whether it's a tenant that's trying to have the housing provider acknowledge their animal, their service animal as a service animal instead of a pet, or if it's just trying to do things like better accessibility in their living space in either the common areas or a modification that they might need to, that they pay for themselves, still need permission to do any kind of physical change that might alter the property. So there's a lot of different moving pieces, a lot of involving pieces, and as Future said, we've been working closely together, trying to, what I've also learned is that other jurisdictions throughout the region, their human relations commissions are either within like an office of equity, like we're in the office of DEI, but then also when they have these fair housing investigators that work with the HRCs to investigate any complaints that come in. So right now with this jurisdictional partnership, we're gearing up to basically rewrite what is called the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice. We last did one in 2020, and now we're gearing up and we're crunching all these numbers, all this data to evaluate progress since 2020 to see what progress has been made on addressing these impediments to fair housing choice and determining if the progress that has been made is sufficient, whether it's deficient, whether new impediments have arisen and need to be identified. So again, it's still evolving work.
What are the stats about its?
Right now, I would say it's hard to say because one of the things I'm also doing is working with our Office of Information Technology to develop an outward-facing application or a web portal to do intake. Because I've just been working off of spreadsheets and Excel sheets that I've made up myself, and it's not good science, right? So what I want to be able to do is put it into a tool so I can really look at the data and evaluate the data and to be able to report out accurately where we are, but then also understanding that it's still going to be just a mere reflection of, just like your numbers that you all have for the HRC. It's always just a pale reflection of what's really going on out there.
Yes, it is. And when you were talking, I was like, this should be reported in our report. Because if we're talking about human relations, we're just not talking about one part. And that's something I think is important for people to understand. I mean, we're under DEI, but it's just not that. And disabilities is a big one. Because the disabled community is ignored. They do not get the attention that they need because no one knows where to fit them. This is where they fit. This is a HRC issue. This is a report, I think, that HRC should be receiving when your office is receiving reports that, okay, well, let's look into this, let's look into this. Because I mean, this the role of the commissioners is to look at policies, look at procedures, processes in the county, say, hey, we're suggesting this policy. We're suggesting this policy based on what the reports that we're seeing and the fact that we aren't capturing that, which is vitally important. Because I know there's a lot of disabled people. They have a lot that they have to deal with, and they don't know who to report it to. And then when we go out and make our presentations in the communities, we're saying, this is just not about what people traditionally think is DEI. This is about human needs that are not being met. And if it's because you're a disabled person and you're not receiving this accommodation, that accommodation, this is who you can talk to. This is who you can complain to. Yeah, that's great.
And just to, I guess, clarify, so there's no office of fair housing, it's just me.
I know. And the thing about it, and you know what? If in the middle of the night, when you wake you up and say, let me put this report and send it to Ms. People, and you put it down and we start documenting and doing this.
The need of the.
Yes, it's like, right. You need somebody, give him an intern or something. Right, because that is what happens. Like, it's solid and people don't realize that's an issue. And they say, no, look at this. We might be showing more disability related issues than these other kind of things. It's like, yeah, this guy needs somebody. And if you need somebody to come talk for you, I'll talk.
I'll make sure they know that.
I also think instances of discrimination against LGBTQI people is vastly underreported. because you don't have any that I've seen. And people, I'm on the Maryland Commission on LGBTQI plus affairs,
Are you talking about specifically for in housing, in the area of
In-
housing?
housing. And the people on that commission work in organizations that serve the LGBTQ
Mm-hmm.
community, and they go to them. They don't report it to the housing commissioner, or when they're harassed, they don't go to the police.
I would
They
definitely
come
agree.
to people on the commission because they know they're connected to a certain organization.
And I have handled, a few housing complaints where the individuals felt that they were facing, harassment or some sort of discrimination because of their, gender identity or sexual identity. And, and to me, it was, obvious. Yeah, it was definitely, obvious, glaringly obvious.
But yet those instances never make it into this type of report, right? And that's connectivity, I'm glad you're here, that's that connectivity that we need. Because it's not being focused on.
Right.
Right.
And it wasn't just a housing provider, but one complaint was a housing provider and the other complaint was the office of housing.
So, all action items is what I hear. But, we are also working to have an automated platform, or an online platform, won't be automated, where complaints can be provided by constituents. We also will have the ability to receive complaints as we have done historically, and we can just input it into the system so that we have official reporting method as well. So that's something else that we're working closely to strengthen. So, yeah.
Can I ask a question? What's the variance between what you call claims and actual cases that move forward to investigation? How many claims don't move forward as a viable case to be investigated?
So that's the number I have to get back to you on. Yeah, that's the number I have to get back to you, because I don't have it here in front of me, but we'll definitely follow up, because there's definitely, we sometimes we get inquiries, so two things, sometimes we get inquiries that they belong to another jurisdiction, well, obviously we couldn't count that as a case. Or maybe it's better served because the organizational side with the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, or even, so those are just a couple of examples of why that won't necessarily be classified as a case. Do we count mediation as a case? We don't, if we're able to just resolve, then we wouldn't count that as a case. So if it involves to an actual investigation, then that's when it will become an actual case. But beyond that point, it's just an inquiry.
But you don't keep the statistics on your mediations.
We do, you just don't see it in front.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's just what's so low. That's why I asked the
Mhm.
question, that it makes it sound like, right, like we're living in this utopia and there's only 8 cases. in
Right.
7 months.
Ones that have gone to, some sort of investigation, but no, we get tons of.
That's what I figured, but that's the number I think that.
Right.
That we want to dig into.
yeah, and I think that to show the mediations is important, because then people get a more realistic idea of, what's involved.
Yeah.
And also when they see those mediations reported, then they realize that, that's where I want to go. Because maybe they don't want a case, but when they think case, they think trial.
Right.
And they say, maybe I don't want a case. I just want somebody to sit down and do that. And also to know that the HRC is the resource for mediation.
Build their confidence in their review.
Yeah, I mean, because some people, when they think case, they're like, okay, does that mean the lawyer? I don't want to do that. But if you said, no, this is going to be a mediation, they realize it's a closed process, and it's just going to be them, and the mediator. And sometimes they're more willing to go to mediation than to say, I'm going to file for a case. And the fact that is something that we can say, if you do desire mediation, this is where you come forward.
Right.
It's like, they know, okay, fine.
I just always worry, like in this climate where everybody wants to roll back the work, that you're doing,
Mhm,
and they don't have a good understanding of
Right.
how needed you are,
Right.
and we are as a commission, and this looks like, oh, that ain't a thing, right? And so I always worry when I see very low numbers.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective. That's a great perspective. We actually share this with you more so because of what you have in your folder. Not so much the public, the public perception, but that's a great point. We do capture, we are capturing what the total universe of complaints or inquiries received. Then it is segregated out to mediation and by stage. I don't think we have it with you today, but what we'll send out to you is the business process so that you can see how everything evolves because it varies from various stages.
And the mediation takes staff time, correct?
You said take staff time 100%.
Right. So the fact that you're not reporting, they think, right, you're not.
I think this we're seeing it later, it just the discussion for tonight's.
Yeah, but
But the numbers I have
Mhm.
reported, because also for a while, we were getting huge numbers, because HR, not human relations, was getting put onto our sort of ledger, so to speak.
Right, and
So there are those numbers that we have seen,
Mhm.
and but we're saying a lot of, I all agree with, that the full breadth, what's being done should be shown to show the work.
Mhm.
Yes.
Rather than eight cases, one a month.
Yeah,
I say.
right.
It's heard a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so closed case review. Just an overview of the review cycle. So it will be done on a quarterly basis. This is the first quarter in which the closed case process review will occur. Excuse me, you will all receive another set in February and then again in April. The one caveat I want to mention is typically when our full capacity, meaning we have all of our seats filled, we would have a subcommittee that would review the cases. But given that we have a few vacancies, this is being provided to everyone for discussion. So think of it as technically not everyone would be a part of each quarter, be able to participate in each quarter. It will rotate, but again, just given where we are with numbers, everyone is participating. So in the months of October, February, and April, and then just on a yearly cycle, those are the months that the cases will be provided. As I mentioned before, they will be provided via the secure electronic transfer, but again, because today is the soft kickoff, we provided hard copies as well. In terms of the closed case review, we're asking that you prioritize 30 days to review. We also provided, which we'll go over in just a moment, a set of questions for you to review for consideration, just food for thought. It's like, okay, what am I looking at? What should I be thinking about? So we have a set of questions that we provided for that. And then we also have a few specific questions that we want you to come prepared to answer and report out at our next meeting. So it's a multifaceted, but we're intentionally providing you with hopefully enough tools for your toolbox to know what it is that you're supposed to do in terms of the review. At our next meeting, we are asking that you provide a written analysis. There's no specific template, but just come prepared to discuss. And then, as I mentioned, the next meeting, which of course will be the November meeting, is when a report out will come out, and then again, it will be in March and May, and HRC. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so the closed case briefing template. So in your folder, you have a document entitled Human Relations Commission Closed Case Brief. This is just the overall template of what the cases that you will receive will come to you, the format it will be presented. So the first box, just jumping down, will have the case number, the case type, the date filed, and the date closed. So the procedural history will just be blanket language that will tell you or share with you the procedure steps for the specific case. The next will be the rules and analysis of law or the legal principles or statutes related to the case. And flip over to page 2. This is where you will have the meat. So you'll receive the detailed description of the issue, followed by the fact finding, relevant critical information, and then the disposition or the final outcome. So that is the structure of the template. There's also page 3, which when we send this to you electronically, we'll make the box a little bigger, but just for you to write notes on as you're reading. One of the other things we want you all to keep in mind is there's a basis of a complaint and then there's an area of the complaint. So the basis of the complaint are the protected classes, so age, race, national origin, gender, sex, and so forth. The areas of the complaint, which gives us our authority to investigate, is when there's a basic complaint that occurs in one of the areas. So whether it's education, only in the private sector, a place of employment, public/reasonable accommodations, and housing, and in terms of finance. So these are the areas versus the basis. So you'll receive the information per the briefing document on the basis of the complaint as well as the area. But just wanted to make it clear these are two separate things, and that any of these bases can fall into any one of these areas. Make sense?
Education is strictly for private sector.
Yes.
Will we get copies of that sheet?
Yes. Mhm.
So why is the education only for private sector? Like private schools, not necessarily the people?
Because CCS has their own, does their own investigation.
That's interesting.
Who we have a close working relationship with, but they do their own investigation.
Well, we,
Provide you with data.
Not to date, but not to date, not historically, I'll say that.
the reason why I was asking, because some of the discussions I've had have been with employees of Baltimore County Public Schools
Mhm.
and also employees of Baltimore County government. And, I'm like, those are some of
In
the,
terms of in terms of discrimination with Baltimore County employees?
yeah,
Okay, well, yeah, that be handled by our Office of Human Resources.
yeah,
We
but we
don't
don't,
investigate
I
ourselves.
know, but we don't even get reports on it because, as the commission, one of the things to like, we don't have authority, but to say, this is going on. And, some recommendations about some things that might need to change. I mean, we do have the authority for the county, not that we can go in and tell Baltimore Public Schools what to do or the county's HR what to do, but if we're receiving reports and on information just to say, there are some policy considerations to look at, because if we don't, then we're excluding these two whole classes of people of one of the functions, not all of the functions, not to say decide your case or negate your case, but at least to say someone is looking to identify a trend or something that, because those classes, we have denied them that opportunity to say, okay, we've looked at it.
Unfortunately, years ago, the government agencies specifically were excluded.
Mhm.
So that we are only dealing with private sector.
Mhm.
Nobody else.
So that's in the law that it doesn't,
That is defining as to category, education,
mhm.
and similarly housing or anything. If any issue was dealing with housing,
Mhm.
by the government's own housing, like army basis,
Mhm.
we cannot come up with a complaint about that house.
I got the federal government, but this is a commission for the county.
Exactly, so any government agency, anything dealing with their employment nature, any discrimination, we cannot touch it.
And that's unfortunate, because that's, that's lacking accountability. That's something that's something that's new now. Maybe when it was written, people maybe when it was written, people accepted the lack of accountability and the lack of transparency, but that doesn't work much today.
So I'm just going to interject so we can stay on topic because we don't have, we're over time.
Okay.
But we've gotten your feedback. Just keep in mind what our statute does allow us to do, and that's what's here before you in terms of delaying it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So really quickly, what you see before you, these are the closed case review questions for you to actually answer. So the three areas to focus are: what are your initial thoughts about the case? Do you agree with the outcome of the case? Is there anything that you would recommend be done differently? Is there part A and part B to that? You know, what action steps do you recommend to be taken to address discriminatory issues in these particular cases? And what suggestions do you have? What could have been done differently in these particular cases? So this is really A and B in terms of three, but these are the focus areas. In your, now you can open your brown folder. In your folder, you have 5 cases. Now, as the commission continues to do increases outreach efforts, and we receive an influx of inquiries and cases, et cetera, we don't imagine potentially being able to provide as many cases for you to review just because of your precious time. But this is a pretty solid in and out for your consideration. So we said we would provide you with at least 5. In addition to the cases, you also have the updated Article 29. As a reminder, we updated legislation last year to be able to have the ability to inflict fines and fees on bad actors. And you also have the questions. You have the questions for consideration. If you could pull that document up, I just wanted to draw your attention. There's a series of questions that are broken out. In the folder. I'm sorry, in the brown folder. So again, just as you are going through the cases, these are the questions for you to just kind of have food for thought. And then on the back side, it includes the 3 questions that you have before you read the screen. And so, of course, for PII, information has been redacted. You have the facts, if you will. This happened at an establishment. But at the end of the day, this information is to be kept confidential. And so we just ask, confidential is listed on each of the cases. So we just ask that you keep it close hold, and after we have our report out, that you destroy them in an appropriate manner.
Independent for bringing back to keep that better.
100%. Yep, that is an option. In the fire pit. So these are for you to take with you. We'll also send electronically along with all the documents that you receive hard copies of. Again, ask you to reference the information that we provided to you in terms of your review, but also reach out to us if you have any questions, if you find yourself in any bottlenecks, if you have any clarifying concerns, to please reach out to us. Again, our goal was to equip each of you with as much information in your toolkit as possible, so that you could have a viable first run in terms of the case. One other thing to keep in mind is what recommendations do you have? So we talked about it in terms of 3B, you know, what suggestions we had, or really not A, 3A, what actions that we recommend be taken. So these are just examples, just recommendations that could happen. When you're reviewing, you may identify some trends. When you're reviewing, you may identify some opportunities. We talked about a lot of them today, but these are just some example recommendations. Partnering with the Department of Age to convene an anti-discrimination campaign for seniors. Now, nothing in your packet is dealing with seniors, but these are just, again, just very, very rough recommendations. Partnering with the Baltimore County Public Schools to provide training on diverse hiring practices to promote a diverse work environment. Partnering with nonprofits. Now, these are all partner recommendations. These are not the only recommendations. What we also have, I believe it should be in their folder, right, videos, are the, so I think that's the one thing we also have to think that's not in your packet. There are a series of action steps. This is where the DEI Community Council comes in. So based upon the recommendations, whether it be partnering with a specific group, whether it be doing legislation, whether it be doing it's hosting a community event, whatever the case may be, that's where the DEI Employee Council will come in, because those individuals will be the ones to assist the commission in bringing those to fruition. That will be their sole responsibility. We again recognize that everyone is volunteer, who's passionate about this work, who is lending their time, treasures, and talents. However, we also know that everybody gets burned out from time to time, and we don't want that. We know that there's lots of work to be done, and so in order to help spread the load, that's where the DEI Employee Council comes in. So that's the one document, as I mentioned, that you don't have in here. Do apologize, but we'll provide you with that so that you'll see how the DEI Employee Council comes in based upon the recommendations that you had after your review. Okay, I know this was a lot of information. So take it back with you. That's again why we brought make sure that you had hard copies to be able to go back and review. And again, we are your resources as well. We're also in that toolbox. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else for the final order before we close out? Nope.
November 15th is the next meeting, it will be a virtual meeting.
Yep.
And those that sent us
All right, so with that, sorry.
I just wanted to let everyone know that the Commission on LGBTQIA+ Affairs is holding a symposium. I'll have to get you the date for all of the Maryland state agency heads to discuss with them a recommendations document that we created that's on our website.
Okay.
So you may hear from someone in your organization, because department heads and most of the department heads have committed to attending or sending some senior officer.
Okay.
So something to filter to you.
Okay. Hopefully it does. Yeah, right now. We haven't heard any right videos.
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to take a moment to shout out our wonderful team. We know that Ramona has 10 years of service in the commission. She is now transitioning to wonderful things. And so I want to really thank both Ashley, Elliott, and Videos Marshall for doing an outstanding job and keeping us flowing. Great things continue to come and to be produced from these young ladies. So I just wanted to just thank them before we signed off.
Thank you very much.
All right, so with that, we are officially adjourned. We can end the recording.
See.